States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to go ahead and get started this morning, and we have a presentation from Amy Wiggins, the CEO of the Lakeland Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning, commissioners. Thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to come and share with you just a little bit about how the Lakeland Convention and Visitors Bureau has interacted with the community and our visitors over the last 12 months. We always appreciate this opportunity to share with you the good news that Lakeland's tourism is alive and thriving. And those of you who were able to attend our annual meeting at the beginning of the month were able to hear that directly from some of our tourism professionals as well. We hosted the president of McKibben Hospitality, Bruce Bayerwald, who shared with us a little bit about their philosophy and why they're thrilled to be a part of the Lakeland community, especially as the Bonnet Springs Park comes on board and they see that their hotels are filled with happy travelers who are experiencing everything that Lakeland has to offer. So we are here to give you just a real quick overview. We know you've got a really busy docket this morning, so Faith has given you a real quick annual report snapshot of Explore Lakeland, and that's the first major change that you'll see. We have, over the last 12 months, taken some real strides in making sure that the Convention and Visitors Bureau is something that our community can also engage with. We don't want our local residents, and especially our new residents, to feel as though we're just for visitors or we're just for those folks who are coming into town and then heading back out again. There's so much to learn and experience in our community that a lot of us, even I, am still learning and experiencing new things. So that's one of the major changes that we have made, is that Explore Lakeland rebrand. Many of you participated in our survey over the summer. We received an incredible response about what our local Lakelanders loved about the community, and what we found was that there are about 6 different types of travelers or visitors or folks who are running around and enjoying the adventures in our community. They are nature enthusiasts, and you know we have incredible parks and nature facilities here in Lakeland and vicinity. Of course, foodie. We love our local Lakeland restaurants and chefs. Local finds. We've got some incredible shops, and we're growing those every day. The boutiques that come online, we're just thrilled to be able to see that, and especially what's being made here right in our backyard at Catapult. Some of the things that are being created are part of that lovely Lakeland finds. Of course, history buff. You know we're really involved in everything that is historical. We live in a historic building on Lake Morton, which we love, and just a reminder that that's a 1926 building, so we're not that far away from celebrating our centennial birthday there, which is tremendous. And of course, we have the amazing facilities that the History and Culture Center brought to the Lakeland Library. Arts and culture, you know that's very close to my heart as well. And then Sports Fanatic. We are very proud of all the professional sports and amateur sports that we have here in this community. So we're going to be focusing a lot on that. We're building out our content on our website so we can do itineraries and blog posts and really highlight what makes Lakeland special. So we really encourage you and everyone else to visit explorelkld.com and find your next adventure and how you're going to continue to grow as a Lakelander. I promised I was going real fast. We also worked with the Small College Basketball Hall of Fame. That's an incredible organization that relocated here to Lakeland to have their Hall of Fame ceremony, and that's small colleges and their amazing basketball programs. And we think here locally, of course, of Florida Southern. So Florida Southern was an incredible partner in that too. They had their Hall of Fame induction ceremony at the Polk Theater, so we were proud to partner with them and Visit Central Florida to bring that incredible event here. And then our team has really worked worked to continue that college engagement with not only some marketing classes at Florida Southern specifically as we went through this rebrand, but also some things that I think people may not realize that the Southeastern University has an incredible hospitality program. So with the connections that we have to the hospitality industry, we're really helping to bridge and create some new internship opportunities and also just grow that program so that they're providing the instruction that our hospitality industry needs. So we're really, really proud of that. I also want to mention, because many of you are very involved in Age-Friendly Lakeland, together with our Business Resources Department and our Convention and Visitors Department, we're working with Age-Friendly Lakeland on that Age-Friendly Business Seal so that we can get our businesses the training and the resources that they need to be age-friendly, to create those opportunities for folks who are either aging in place or moving into Lakeland, and to understand what that means. How are we age-friendly as a community, and how does our business community continue to promote that? Then I want to turn it over to Faith Carr, who is our Director of Convention and Visitors Bureau, and she's going to tell you a little bit about her goals and also a little bit about what's next for the Hotel Motel Association.
Good morning. Thank you guys for having me. So the Hotel Motel Association specifically has decided they would like to rebrand and kind of broaden their association as a whole. They would like to encompass the hospitality industry and not just hotels and motels. So I'm in the middle of working on a rebrand from Lakeland Hotel Motel Association to the Lakeland Hospitality Alliance. And that will be presented at their meeting on March 8th, and we would like to invite you guys. It's at noon at the Spring Hill Suites. If you are available, we would love to have you there. We're going to go over our new mission statement and the goals for the future meetings to make sure they're educational and people are really getting something out of it instead of just having a luncheon that's kind of wasting everybody's time because they're just hanging out and talking and going over the same thing. We're trying to keep it having a priority and being educational to not just the general managers at the hotels, but also the hotel staff, and then our restaurants and other hospitality industries. So along with that, we're promoting Lakeland as an ideal tourism destination through Explore Lakeland, our website, and our social media. So we have platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We're just starting with those three to see how they go. So with the help of our interns that we have in the office, we're trying to make sure that we present quality information on those social media platforms so that people find it informative. I'm also doing a blog post each week about a local business to highlight them, and they go along with the categories of nature enthusiast, sports fanatic, all six of those. And then I am supporting special events throughout here in Lakeland. By being there, I'm trying to be at as many markets as possible to get my face in front of people so they feel welcome in the chamber and that they can come in and ask for resources that we have, because we have so many maps and historical data and all kinds of good information on our local parks, and I feel like sometimes people forget about us. So I'm trying to have that there at the markets in front of people and then invite them to come to the chamber if they need more information. And we have our relocation packets and guides for people. We get lots of calls about that. So I'm trying to make sure that that is also quality content. And we created a survey for people to give us feedback on what they think is going well, what they actually use, what they would like to see more of, and that kinds of stuff. And then so we have maps and rack cards specifically about our businesses that we partner with the chamber with for those six, we call them personas, of the nature enthusiast and sports fanatic and all those things. And so we're creating collateral with the rack cards and maps and all that kinds of information that I'll have at Sun and Fun and at the markets as well. And I am actually at the Visit Central Florida tent with them, helping them as well. And then I am trying to promote an ambassador program for Explore Lakeland so that I have more than just me as a person out in the community. So we have more of our community members that are already influential, that are a part of this program to help move Explore Lakeland forward and really reach the people and figure out the gaps that we are not reaching. That way we can be more productive and connect with more people. Any questions?
And then, of course, I just want to tell you, you know well enough that you can't put me in front of a microphone without offering me the opportunity to also talk about how great the chamber is. And so one of the collateral pieces that Faith handed you is our 2023 business plan, and you'll see our illustrious chair, Jason Rada's face on the front, and of course here in the room supporting us this morning. So we are grateful for this partnership. We have been providing these services to the city of Lakeland since 1966, and I am eager to continue that and continue to grow Lakeland's profile as much as we possibly can.
Thank you, Amy. I know we all enjoy our partnership with the Chamber and how much you do to highlight Lakeland. Do we have any comments from commissioners or questions? Yes, Commissioner Madden.
Thank you, Amy. It's so great to have y'all here. I noticed on Faith's handout that we do partner with Visit Central Florida. And recently at the Tourism Development Council Board, they talked about in the spring in particular with spring training and then Sun and Fun that we are maxed out in our hotel capacity. So how could the chamber work together with potential developers who would bring new hoteliers to our market? Is that something that the chamber foresees happening?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're involved with that. Of course, Visit Central Florida is incredibly involved in our community and economic development team here at the city as well. We want to be a great partner, and one of the best ways that we can do that is by connecting those folks that already have existing relationships here in the hospitality industry back to those folks who are able to help them make the important decisions about what's available and how they can get here and get in the ground quickly.
And then could you repeat the date for the Lakeland Hospitality Alliance?
It is March 8th at noon at the Spring Hill Suites by the RP Funding Center.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other? Oh, yes, Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy and Faith, and we appreciate the update and hearing all that has gone into this effort to explore Lakeland. On the survey, as you surveyed residents and stakeholders, I'm curious, were there any surprises in that, in the feedback, or in these areas, anything you saw maybe as an opportunity to put more into that we haven't in the past, or something that stood out?
One of the things that did stand out when we just asked an open-ended question about what folks' favorite things were here, the markets really were at the top of the list. And that really was surprising to us because we did expect it to be the parks or the tigers or those things that we've kind of traditionally put our efforts behind. So that's one of the reasons why Faith has been engaging so much in placing herself at those markets, from Buena Market to the Dixieland markets and all of those, because I think we're in a space now where people really love being able to connect with the makers and to connect with local businesses, which is, of course, right up our alley.
That's good. Thank you.
Well, thank you both, Faith and
Thank
Amy, for coming and
you.
sharing. We are always excited to hear what the Chamber is doing, and thank you, Jason Rada, for chairing and volunteering your time to that effort. Thanks, y'all. All right, we have a additional item on our agenda that's not listed. Is Oscar, where's Oscar Torres? Oh, hi, you're hiding behind
Hiding
the...
in plain sight, yes.
You're hiding. Get the mic for you.
Good morning, everybody. So I'll hand it over to Roger Trout first, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning. My name is Roger Trout. I represent Department of Defense in an organization called Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve, for those of you that aren't familiar with it. It's our job to bring to the community what our great Guard and Reserve folks are doing, still in uniform. Every day when I send another 800 Florida National Guard folks to Europe and the Horn of Africa and places like that, we've got 37,000 Guard and Reserve folks in 36 countries right now. And so they just keep sending these young, I can call them kids, I'm old enough, you guys aren't. But we keep sending these young men and women that are just tremendous. But they couldn't do it without the support of their families. And so we try and help the families make sure that they understand what's involved in what they do. But the other thing is they couldn't do it without the support of their employer. The city of Lakeland has been a great employer of their Garden Reserve folks. I think we have, 37, 38 or so of folks that work for the city. Several of you have been very, very helpful to these folks for what they do. This morning, we had the opportunity to have the city of Lakeland, thanks to Sean, sign a statement of support that basically says, this is what we're all about. It'll be posted somewhere here in the building, that we support our Garden Reserve folks, that we'll follow the law. We'll do all of the things that are necessary because they're defending our country. And one of the things that we do is we urge these folks, if they've got a co-employee, a supervisor, a manager, or somebody in their organization who goes above and beyond to support them, that they put them in for what's called a Patriot Award. Now, I know that several have come here to the city of Lakeland, and that's no surprise. But we have one this morning that we want to present to Sean. And he doesn't know it. Why don't you tell him why we're going to present this to him?
About 6 months ago, we had a devastating and costly event that occurred here in Florida, right? Probably one of the most devastating events that has happened in the past 50 or 60 years, which was Hurricane Ian. And I will tell you, I was quickly, many guardsmen across the state of Florida were activated to help support the citizens of Florida. And I was one of them, and I would not be able to do that if it wasn't for the service, the support that I get from the city of Lakeland. And so I just wanted to recognize Sean's leadership and also his commitment to providing uncanny support to the service members of the city of Lakeland. So, Sean, on behalf of ESGR, if you could accept this Patriot Award.
And it says, Office of the Secretary of Defense recognizes Sean Charus. Did I pronounce that right? As a patriotic employer for contributing to national security and protecting liberty and freedom by supporting employee participation in America's National Guard and Reserve Force.
And
ESGR was founded when we went to an all-volunteer force in 1972, so this was our 50th year in existence. So we have a, he's a Marine, so don't use the backing. You've never lived till you've seen a wife of a Marine pinning his sergeant stripes on. And here's our special 50th anniversary coin, and we really appreciate it. The other thing I had the opportunity to do, I represent the Chief of the Army Reserve, and we were able to give the city of Lakeland a commemoration to say thank you for everything that you do. So I also have my 2-star coin to give to you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
You're going to have to build a bigger desk. And you can't get his in a shadow box, so forget it. So thank you very much for the time, and thank you, Sean, for what you do.
Thank you very much. So this is a complete surprise, and some of you may have noticed the running around that I was doing over here in the corner a few moments ago, because I was actually preparing my notes to recognize these two gentlemen. Had no idea that they were here to present this to me. So I apologize for stepping out there for just a moment, but that's exactly what I was doing. We're very fortunate here at the City of Lakeland to have so many veterans that work in the organization, and to have reserve personnel as well. And I believe our highest ranking is Lieutenant Colonel Oscar Torres, who was here with me today, and we're very appreciative of the City Commission and of the public and the citizens who allow people like Lieutenant Colonel Torres to continue to serve while also serving our community here at the City of Lakeland. So I'm very humbled by this surprise, but I'm really just a representative for the 37 folks that we have who are currently serving and also working here at the City of Lakeland, and all of those who have previously served while working at the City of Lakeland. So thank you very much.
Well, and just for information, Emily Clone and Sean are a great team together, and so she had told me like a week or so ago And I was thinking, how am I going to get that past him when I'm sitting up here? And I'm like, well, I'm calling an audible, or Oscar, come on up. So we just appreciate all of our veterans. As the daughter of a Marine, and I'm married to a Marine now who was in the reserve, like, we really appreciate that the city of Lakeland is so committed to not only our well-being here locally, but nationally and around the world. So thank you for always being committed to our veterans. And thank you, Oscar, wherever you are, for leading that effort as well. Thank y'all. Well, now I have the distinct pleasure to highlight the Junior League of Greater Lakeland's 90th anniversary. So if everybody wants to come up, we have a whole slew of friends who are here. Here to accept the proclamation is Maggie Briggs, President, Barbara Cadiz, President-elect, Kate Wallace, Assisting Funding Director and Chair, Peggy McKeel, did Peggy make it in? Sustaining Vice President, Catherine Fitzwater, who's the 90th Anniversary Celebration Chair of the Junior League of Greater Lakeland. We're going to make a line across, yes, so we can take a good picture. Where am I? Tracy DeCessory, Membership VP, Cheryl Rogers, an active member, Angel Davis, Nominating Chair, who works here at the City of Lakeland. Hi, Angel. And lots of other actives and sustainers. And so, Maggie, if you want to come over here, I'm going to read this for you. And just personally, for a point of privilege, you come right here. Okay. For a point of privilege, I joined the Junior League in many, many years ago when I was fresh out of undergrad at Florida Southern College, and it has shaped me as a female leader and as a dedicated community volunteer. This is what we do at the Junior League, is develop women, and I think we do a really good job of it, and I'm a sustaining member, which I'm happy to do, and I'm going to ask Stephanie Madden also to come up, who's also a sustaining member. So you should be intimidated by this group because we can take over the world at any given moment. Okay. Whereas on March 3rd, 1933, a charitable work organization formed in the Terrace Hotel basement, and 25 charter members from Lakeland adopted their purpose of rendering charitable volunteer service within the community. Junior Welfare League of Lakeland was selected as its name, and once a constitution was drafted, the venture began. Whereas its name changed in 1974 to the Junior League of Greater Lakeland, becoming the 225th member of the Association of Junior Leagues International, and whereas the Junior League of Greater Lakeland is an organization whose mission is to advance women's leadership for meaningful community impact through volunteer action, collaboration, and training. The League has more than 450 dues-paying members from the Greater Lakeland area. For 90 years, members have worked tirelessly to contribute to our city's cultural and educational needs by leading or helping fund various long-lasting projects and nonprofit organizations, some of which, I'm so happy this is in here, some of those beneficiaries include the Learning Resource Center. Pam Craven's here. You can come up, Pam. Come on. Polk Museum of Art, the restoration of the Lake Mirror Promenade, the rebuilding of the Polk Theater's outer lobby and kiosk, the Salvation Army's Halo Child Enrichment Center, named in honor of League member Hazel Haley, the Bethany Center, the Achievement Academy, and exhibitions within the Florida Children's Museum. And whereas for 49 years, the League's Reading is Fundamental initiative, the oldest of its kind in Florida, has placed many thousands of free books into the hands of children who otherwise may not have had books of their own. Whereas the League's annual World of Reading Festival promotes the love of books and reading to Lakeland's children by providing books and introductions to authors and storytellers. Additionally, the Lakeland Christmas Parade, which the League founded in 1971, is hosted in partnership with the City of Lakeland annually, uniting tens of thousands of kids from 1 to 92 to celebrate the magic of Christmas in the heart of downtown Lakeland. And whereas the League's commitment to building and cultivating trained female volunteers has led to hundreds of Junior League members serving in a variety of roles and public offices across our community, including within this commission body. And whereas what began as a small group of women motivated to effect change is now recognized as a critical launching pad for successful involvement in Lakeland's nonprofits by training and nurturing highly driven, skilled female leaders. It is therefore, this is a little emotional. It is therefore most appropriate that on this 90th anniversary, we provide sober appreciation and hearty congratulations for all that has been accomplished as we now anticipate the next decade of League impacting resulting from future initiatives. A promising and bright future is expected as the best year to come. Therefore, Mayor William Mutz, Mayor of Lakeland, Florida, on behalf of the entire Lakeland Commission, declare March 3rd, 2023, within the City of Lakeland, Junior League of Greater Lakeland's 90th Anniversary Day. Congratulations.
And
Honestly, Sarah, I can't imagine a better person to read that. I mean, we're sad the mayor's not here, but what a true testimony, right, to be able to have such a impactful and sustaining member here, as well as Stephanie, as well as this amazing group of women that we're all surrounded by, right? I too am just humbled to be able to accept this, but I am but a representative of an organization of more than 500 women that are here in the community every day making significant impacts, right? Huge shout out to some of our community partners that are here. Thank you so much for being here, as well as some of our sponsors and donors that allow us to be able to do this at a community level, including Publix Charities, Harold's Family Charities, CPS Investment Advisors, Hall Communications, Ashley Barnett, among several others as well, help to close clothing gaps within our communities and be able to all do that while helping to develop the potential of women through trained volunteerism. So thank you guys so much for having us.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you. Everybody squish in. Stephanie, you want to say anything real quick? You're like the software. Yes. I was going to say, get it real close. I can do it close.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
I could talk about that for a lot longer, so I won't. Our other exciting proclamation today is for our school resource officers. So if you all want to come up, Sammy Taylor, our chief, and all of the school resource officers here in the building. February 15th was National School Resource Officer Appreciation Day, but school is out today for President's Day, so we can honor our officers now in person. And they serve as an important bridge between youth, law enforcement, and the communities they serve. Here to accept the proclamation is Chief Sammy Taylor and the school resource officers of the Lakeland Police Department. Yay! Yay! Just as I get emotional about Junior League, I get very emotional about this group protecting our kids every day, because my children have been the beneficiaries of their hard work and diligence and resilience. And this crazy, oh look, y'all know how to make a line and everything. You might have to double stack, put taller people behind. Come on, Chief. Whereas school resource officers are valuable and essential members of the education community and deserve unwavering respect and support from the public in the pursuit of keeping schools and students safe, and whereas school resource officers bridge gaps between youth and law enforcement and embrace a triad concept of school policing, serving in informal counseling, education, and law enforcement roles to support students and communities they serve, whereas by the men and women of the Lakeland Police Department lead by example in their dedication to continuous training, committed to keep school grounds safe and promote a positive image of law enforcement to school children and school communities, and whereas SRO programs across the globe are founded as collaborative efforts by police agencies, law enforcement officers, educators, students, parents, and communities to create safe learning environments, provide valuable resources to school staff members, foster positive relationships with students, and develop strategies to resolve problems that affect youth with the goal of protecting all children so that they can reach their fullest potential. Now, therefore, William Mutz, City of Lakeland Mayor, and on behalf of the entire commission, do hereby proclaim February 15th, 2023 as School Resource Officer Appreciation Day. Congratulations, and thank y'all for what you do.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to say a few words, but I want to let Sergeant Knatzer speak first. So, Justin, you can step up front. Yeah, that's okay.
Hey, good morning. I'm Sergeant Knatzer. I don't do this alone. Sergeant Finney's right here, and one of our other sergeants, Sergeant Shaw Hall, is at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement leadership training, so he couldn't be here today. But one of my personal leadership philosophies is create a culture of recognition, and that's what we're doing here today. I'd like to thank Robin for also helping get this going. But the men and women that are standing here behind me, they make my job easy, they make his job easy. They do a good job every day, making our job less stressful. And the biggest thing they do is they keep your kids safe. So for those of you who are watching, when you send your kids to your schools, understand that these men and women behind me are going to do everything they can to keep them safe. One of the biggest things they do, in my opinion, is the mentorship role. These men and women work 8.4-hour days. There's some of them that get off at I'm trying to do this non-military time, 3:39 p.m. There's 4 o'clocks and stuff, and there's probably every single one of them. They won't tell you this, but they stay there till every kid leaves their campus for the most part. They don't want anything to happen. So they're essentially on their schools, not getting paid, technically, because they want to make sure every kid is safe. They do that out of the goodness of their heart because they built relationships with these kids. They are father figures, mother figures. They are coaches. You guys impress me and make me proud, and thank you.
Well said. I won't take up too much time, but for those of you that don't know, the Lakeland Police Department was the first organization in Polk County to have school resource officers back in the mid-'80s. Sergeant Tom Gleason started that. So, and this is what it's developed into today, that these young men and women back here stand in the gap between good and evil, and I can tell you that they will be the first ones, first line of defense if evil visits one of our schools. So I'm very proud of all these folks. I'm proud of Captain Kimball and all the leadership they have. So thank you very much for this.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Thank you.
While our school resource officers leave, I know that a couple commissioners had some comments for Chief Taylor. Commissioner Music.
Nope, I'm good. I got my question answered.
Oh,
Thank you.
anybody else want to comment or? Go ahead.
Just in general or about the?
About the SROs, I guess.
Well, I can only speak for my kids, and I know I have colleagues here who feel the same way, but my kids love Officer Ramos as he's leaving, and I'm sure all of the others have a similar relationship with the kids at their school. But it's neat to see that the kids love their school resource officer and feel a sense of safety. And no, I've heard my kids say, if something happens, Dad, Officer Ramos is there. And so we appreciate that tremendously. I can't say that enough. So Chief Taylor, Captain Kimball, thank you for your leadership on this.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you so
All
much.
right, thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, Chief. All right, that moves us to committee reports and related items, municipal boards and committees, presented by Commissioner Madden.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. We had a municipal board and committee meeting in the City Commission Conference Room on Friday, February 17th, and the purpose of the meeting was to receive and act upon the following recommendations. On the Airport Advisory Board, there was a recommendation from Airport Director Chris Hallstrand to reappoint Salvatore Capra to an additional 3-year term beginning April 6th, 2023 and ending April 5th, 2026. On the Code Enforcement Board, there was a recommendation from Code Enforcement Manager Sunny Marshall to appoint Nick Krolczyk to fulfill an unexpired term beginning retroactive February 2nd, 2023 and ending May 31st, 2023. Immediately after, Mr. Krolczyk will serve his first full 3-year term beginning June 1st, 2023 and ending May 31st, 2026. On the Auditor Selection Committee, there was a recommendation from city staff to appoint Commissioner Mike Music as the committee lead, Terry Dennis as a committee team member, Greg Finch as a committee team member, and all of these were approved. Commissioner Sarah McCarley moved to approve the appointments. Commissioner Stephanie Madden seconded, and the motion carried unanimously. I always like to remind folks that are listening and paying attention and want to get more involved in the city as a volunteer, that the city is accepting applications for the upcoming vacancies on our website. On the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, they are looking for 2 members, one who is an employer within the jurisdiction and one who's engaged in the residential home industry. On the Community Redevelopment Area Advisory Board, they are looking for 3 members, one who owns property or a business or works in the Dixieland CRA District or the Midtown District or in the Downtown CRA District. For the Historic Preservation Board, they are also looking for 1 member. Zoning Board of Adjustments and Appeals, they're looking for 1 alternate member. And on the Code Enforcement Board, they are looking for 1 alternate member. The committee adjourned at 8:15 a.m.
Do I have a motion to accept the minutes from the meeting?
Motion to accept?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? This is a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, the motion carries. That moves us to our approval of our consent agenda, and if you'll notice the asterished items on your agenda, which will be the minutes of utility, the city commission minutes, and number 3 under utility, C3. I can have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda. Any questions or comments? Yes, Commissioner
Are we
Wiese.
moving the real estate?
It's under
just to-
miscellaneous,
it's
the
moved
city
over
attorney.
to his, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions or clarifications? Seeing none, this too is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to, we have no request to appear from the general public or an equalization hearing, so we'll go to item number 3, public hearings, A, which is City Attorney Davis.
Thank you, Commissioner. Our first ordinance for consideration of adoption this morning is proposed ordinance number 23-003, an ordinance relating to the voluntary annexation of property, including within the territorial limits of the city of Lakeland, Florida, 10.6 acres of property located at the southeast corner of West 10th Street and Saratoga Avenue, finding compliance with Chapter 171 Florida statutes, making findings, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing an effective date.
Move to approve.
Second?
Any questions by commission? Any questions by the audience? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Commissioner McLeod?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Item number 2.
Next is proposed ordinance number 23-005, an ordinance relating to local government comprehensive planning, making findings, providing for small-scale amendment number LUS 22-08 to a certain portion of the future land use map of the Lakeland Comprehensive Plan, our Community 2030, providing for the application of a future land use designation of residential medium, RM, on approximately 10.6 acres located at the southeast corner of West 10th Street and Saratoga Avenue, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Move to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion by commission? Any discussion by the audience? Seeing none, this too is a roll call vote. Commissioner Simmons?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Motion carries. And for the general public, these first 3 items are all linked, and we had an extensive discussion about them Friday at our agenda study for the second reading. Item number 3.
3 is proposed ordinance number 23-06, an ordinance relating to zoning, adopting findings, providing for PUD, planning unit development zoning, to allow for the development of 92 single-family attached dwelling units on approximately 10.6 acres located at the southeast corner of West 10th Street and Saratoga Avenue, providing for urban neighborhood, UNH context district on the property, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Move to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion by commission? Any by the audience? This too is a roll call vote. Commissioner McLeod?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Item number 4.
Number 4 is proposed ordinance number 23-07, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, approving a conditional use to recognize an existing school and daycare, and allow for the placement of 3 modular classroom buildings as part of a school expansion on property located at 1836 Kathleen Road, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner McLeod and a second by Commissioner Reed. Any discussion by the commission? Seeing none, any discussion by the audience? This too is a roll call vote. Commissioner Simmons?
Aye.
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 Yep.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 5.
Next is proposed ordinance number 23-08, an ordinance relating to zoning, making findings, approving a conditional use to allow for the conversion of a portion of an existing detached garage into a detached secondary residential dwelling unit on property located at 841 Johnson Avenue, finding conformity with the comprehensive plan, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Move for approval?
Second?
We have a motion from Commissioner Music and a second from Commissioner McLeod. Any discussion by, yes, Commissioner Reed?
Thank you. Chuck, may I have you come to the podium, please? What's the current zoning, what does it allow? So, do we have duplexes in that particular zoning?
For the record, Chuck Barnby with Community and Economic Development. The actual property is within the South Lake Morton, Special Public Interest District. And so it's primarily single-family, RA4 in terms of the zoning category. And so the actual SPI, previous to us allowing accessory dwelling units in the Land Development Code, anticipated accessory dwelling units within the historic districts. So this has an RA4 land use. Accessory dwelling units have been allowed with the adoption of the SPI going back to, I believe it was 1994, may have been the initial adoption on that SPI. And so this is all generally consistent, and I can show you here. The differences, because there we go. Could be a little confusing. And I appreciate Teresa and some edits from Matt showing the difference between what's allowed in the current South Lake Morton and East Lake Morton Special Public Interest zoning overlay, as well as what's allowed in the Land Development Code when it comes to accessory dwelling units. And so we do have some differences between the historic districts, these two historic districts, and what is the standard in the Land Development Code. But essentially, accessory dwelling units are accounted for in the RA4 within this special public interest zoning district. And so it's not, it allows for conversions of, or expansions of garages to allow for a smaller, I would say, independent dwelling unit that is definitely, I would say it's subsidiary to the single-family home. It doesn't necessarily have to have an owner, an owner-occupied or a relative of the owner living within the ADU. Doesn't necessarily have to be on the same electric meter in the historic district. But it is something that has been accounted for, and it would not be treated as a separate parcel or a separate individual lot within these areas.
Does this property meet the rear yard setbacks?
Yes.
It's ironic, over since our last meeting, I've had several people approach me that are waiting to see what we do at this meeting, and not only for this area, but near my home, that want to do the same thing. And I'm not sure if we're going to open Pandora's box for setting something. And it's ironic, I have a home already, and my next door neighbor has built a triplex there. And I think I've discussed it with Brian at some times, but I don't think they can't do anything about that one. They don't seem to want to do anything about it. And I'm not sure if he permitted stuff like that, but I don't want to start getting this type of, either we need to do everything, let them all do it in the neighborhood, or have some kind of control. I don't think we're the policing board to say they can't do this or can't do that. We can't say who can be a tenant there, who can't, but I caution us to be aware of what will be coming down the pipeline if this gets approved. But I'm not necessarily against it, but I think we need to maybe do some tweaking of our code or something of this nature to look at it a little bit deeper, in my opinion.
And the applicant is here, can address specific questions related to this site. I know that one of the things we've been talking about internally is that the SPI, the Special Public Interest Zoning Overlay, and the Land Development Code do have some differences that we need to address, primarily through adjustments to the SPI regulations for South Lake Morton, East Lake Morton. But essentially, these are long-standing zoning allowances to try to increase the amount of housing stock within our central city area. So this is a subtle way within the form of the neighborhoods that have been developed to increase density and make use of the infrastructure that we have available. So the Land Development Code, back when these provisions were added back in 2008, really applied the accessory dwelling unit standards and allowances citywide, but there are some, there's a compatibility review by the Planning and Zoning Board and certain tests that have to be met in order for an ADU to be applied outside of historic districts. So there are definitely controls on the how, the why, the location, and the who to be able to make sure that these are done in accordance with the, with the comprehensive plan and the overall land development code.
'Cause I know that the people that have addressed it with me, it's their intent to do Airbnb, one-night type stuff like that, and either know it will be one metered, they can still have nightly residents or weekly residents or stuff like that. And there again, that's why I want to caution us to do, some neighbors, you don't want somebody walking around your house at night if you don't know who they are, that type thing. There again, and I think I cautioned you last time, I have paused with this particular issue, only for those reasons. And so I wonder if we do pass some ordinances down the road, would they be retroactive to take in this particular property as well?
Any of the changes that we make to the SPIs would have to account for the uses, those ADUs that have been approved previously. And so those are things that we have to get into the details of when we modify the SPI or bring those to the Planning and Zoning Board and the City Commission for approval. But essentially, we do have to recognize the entitlements that have been provided through those previous actions. And that's one of the big details that we have to look at, or how many ADUs have been approved in East Lake Morton and South Lake Morton, and be able to better understand what the implications are with any changes that are made to the SPIs going forward. That'll have to come through as a change, those changes would have to come forward to the Planning and Zoning Board and the City Commission at a future date, but certainly they are separate than what we're talking about here.
Thank you. I'm interested to hear what the applicant has to say.
We have some questions from Commission. Just hold on. Commissioner Music?
Yeah, and I kind of take a little bit of the opposite, position there in not only have what we talked about on Friday. I mean, you go down, so many have these little detached dwellings that are in there, but from a land use code, I think we are going to need to really knuckle down and try to address those disparities that we have between them, because not only do we have people looking at Airbnbs, but I mean, many of us have adult children that, look as they're coming back and trying to find someplace. I don't want my children living with me as much as I love them. I'd love for them to be in a detached building if I had one. So I think that we've got to be careful, because sometimes when we open the floodgates, we can always gear towards the negative, right, of the open rent. But I mean, right now I could Airbnb my house every night if I wanted to. So we've got to be careful there. But I think that it certainly fits. There's a structure there now. They're just looking to amend it. But I would say that we, as time goes and we're trying to get more units in a denser area, that we really do need to address these loopholes and these issues that we have, so that it makes it easier when developers and builders are coming to us. They already know what's available and what they can do, and they don't have to do this every time.
Yes, Commissioner Madden?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Chuck, so I know we had a question on Friday about the 350 square feet. Is that the calculation of the living area minimum max? So it's like this sliding 300 to 800, but it's taking that 40% of the principal dwelling, whichever is less. So it's 350, 40% of the principal dwelling?
Correct. In this instance, the square footage is within the percentage threshold of the principal dwelling unit. And so that's how the calculation works for this particular request.
Okay, and then on the second one, this is a great chart. We didn't have this Friday, did we?
No, we didn't.
So I'm seeing what you're talking about, like with the historic district under owner residency, which I think is kind of Commissioner Reed's concern. You don't have to have owner residency of either the principal or the ADU, but it looks like in our land development code we do.
Correct.
So you would either live in the principal dwelling and Airbnb out your other one, or have your mother-in-law or your child or something, but there would be someone who owns the principal dwelling.
Correct.
According to the land code?
In terms of the standard land development code provisions, is that there has to be some type of relationship between the owner and the resident of the ADU.
So there's more vulnerability in a highly scrutinized historic district to actually have more Airbnb and more out-of-state owners of principal dwellings and accessory dwelling units than in the rest of the city.
That's the concern that we have. I mean, ultimately, the land development code is also kind of the basic safety net, but the concern is that there are some discrepancies here between what's in the land development code and the specific SPI that really does kind of create a question.
It's just interesting when you see it this way, because we did have the workshop with residents, and I went to the neighborhood meetings with South Lake Norton. They were concerned, and I can see why they would have additional concerns, because you think that they're extra SPI. You know, you think, like, I live in the historic district, I have more regulations to follow, and they're going to scrutinize what color I paint my house. And, you know, there's more scrutiny on the one hand with the SPI in the historic district, but in this case, it's actually, they're more vulnerable to having kind of the worst case scenario.
And I would say that it's really only because the East Lake Morton and South Lake Morton, historic districts were really kind of the first to get into the accessory dwelling unit field. When it was something that was really seen kind of globally or nationally as a way to provide better and a varied housing inventory. The land development code, kind of brought it out to the city, but we didn't go back and make adjustments to the SBI. So really, the SBIs that we're talking about in historic districts here were kind of our first effort, or the first effort going back in some instances 30 years. So I mean, it's one where we definitely need to look at consistency, but I would also say that there are, I think other provisions that will help give assurances that the property can't be split off. It can't, we're not going to end up with a completely separate dwelling unit on a separate lot. Ultimately, the ADU or the apartment is on, in with another parent home. And so there are some other safeguards that we believe are built in previously with the SPIs, but it was just in terms of how the standards have evolved since the late 80s until 2008 when our LDC was amended to allow them citywide.
Other commissioner questions for Chuck? Mr. McDonough, do you want to say anything? You have to state your name, please, for the record.
Sure. Sean McDonough. My address is not necessary. 2000 East Edgewood Drive, number 103, 4, 5, and a couple other ones. Lakeland, Florida, 33803.
Thank you.
And I'm here representing the owner. This is, as Commissioner Reed mentioned, this is an existing, or Commissioner Music mentioned that this is an existing garage apartment. And I'll stop that note about this case just to think about the historic district in general. That's why that people are looking out their backyard going, man, what could I do with that? Because it's there. That's how we lived back then. We had houses, that are our main structure, and then you had a accessory dwelling unit or a garage in the back, or a one-car motor port, right? And that's why I think the popularity of those in the historic district is why you're going to see that. I'm extremely thankful for Commissioner Reed's concern, or all of your concerns, on not letting this fad become what the fad of the 60s and 70s did to our city over in Dixieland more, with the duplexes and triplexes and things that don't match character and that we struggle with as developers to try to fit it in as we go throughout the community and making those renovations and developments. This is a totally different animal. Please don't use that duplex word or triplex word in your head when you're thinking of this. The appearance of this to us as to the beautification of our historic areas, this is making no impact on that. This is directly behind the college. Guess who rents it out? College students. Do they do that through the platform of Airbnb? Yeah, probably, because it's such a good app for people and they have insurance that backs them up through that. So smart program. I think people are going to continue to use that. But that's not necessarily adding a person to a neighborhood that's going to be walking around in the middle of the night. That's changing our safety of our community, in my opinion, not especially just on this one particular one, because it's been happening. Unfortunately, we're here ultimately as a code enforcement violation because the applicant or the owner had just done this on her own. Said, hey, great, I got a great idea. I want to charge some money to have a kid live in here. It was a great idea. She probably should have gone around the building route or the building permit route and done it the right way. And for that, she regrets that decision and would like to back up and do it the right way. And that's what we're doing here today. The other item I'd add is that this is very consistent with when you stand just in front of this house, you go, oh, they do it at this house, and there's one here, and there's one over here. So that's what kind of, when we noticed that over a year ago, that's why I took the owner and said, we got this. Not because I understand SBI and this overlay, or to think that we're here on a loophole. On a legal technicality, maybe we are, but if you put that aside, it still becomes well, this owner was allowed to do it, and that owner's allowed to do it. It'd be hard to say you can't, So that's been my thought in the back of my head the whole time, or I guess the motivation of the idea of why it should be approved, not necessarily the. No, that's it.
Thank you.
But it is the size that you mentioned too. We're scaling it down. It's a little larger now. They're using the whole structure, but we're making half the structure back into a garage, which is part of this so-called loophole. And by the way, it's taken almost a year to get here. So this isn't much of a loophole. I don't think a lot of people would exercise this to get that ultimate goal. Just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. That is not to say that it's a unnecessary process. It's a good process. It's just timely. It's expensive, and I think that will reduce the idea that everybody's going to do this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Any further commission questions? Yes,
Just a
Commissioner
comment. This
McLeod.
is a good discussion. and
Yes.
I appreciate hearing this, and Chuck, look forward to seeing some of those just recommendations or how you consolidate the two the specifics of both. Because I do like the idea of adding to our housing inventory and having more available for rentals for people who are looking for this type of housing, but I understand the concerns that come along with it, so I appreciate the discussion. Mr. McDonough, thank you for the extra information on this application.
Any further discussion from the audience?
I have one more question.
Oh, okay.
Chuck, what was it 6-0 on the zoning board?
7-0.
7-0, okay.
Any further discussion from the audience? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote as well. Commissioner McLeod.
Aye.
I'm going to vote for it, but I do want to be clear for Guy that I want to get some changes made in some of our codes that way. So, but yes.
Aye.
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 All right. And Mr. Barnaby, you heard Commissioner Reed.
We definitely take that direction.
Thank you so much. Thank you both. Item number 6.
Item number 6 is proposed ordinance number 23-009, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Lakeland, Florida, relating to the City of Lakeland Police Officers Retirement System, amending Section 62-79 of the Code of the City of Lakeland to expand the deferred retirement option plan participation period, providing for codification, providing for severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing an effective date.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Reed and a second from Commissioner McLeod. Any discussion from the commission or questions? Seeing none, any from the audience? This is a roll call vote. Commissioner Simmons?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item number 7.
Next is proposed ordinance number 23-010, an ordinance relating to the electric utility, providing for availability of service and conditions thereof, establishing rate classifications, removing determination of billing demand charges for certain rate classes, establishing rates for electric service by the City of Lakeland, establishing a surcharge for customers receiving service outside the corporate limits of the City of Lakeland, establishing general provisions, establishing a methodology to impose a fuel charge, providing rates and general provisions for private area lighting, providing for an environmental compliance cost charge, modifying customer participation in the solar hot water program, providing general conditions of medically essential service for residential customers, establishing a demand charge for existing customers with solar systems after January 1st, 2025, providing an economic development rider for qualified customers, providing rates for miscellaneous fees and charges, establishing a rate increase sufficient to sustain a financially self-supporting electric utility, repealing ordinances 5736, 5752, 5772 and 5854, providing definitions, making findings, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Move to approve.
I have a motion from Commissioner Reed,
Second?
second from Commissioner McLeod. I think Ms. Jacoby is here. Commissioner Music, did you have some questions?
Yeah, I know that this particular ordinance is 80 pages long, and, you know, we go over it in our utility committee, and we go over this and we ask questions, but, and I know that Gina is here, but what I would like is if we could get an overview that maybe is a little better, not so legalese, that, you know, because these are the things that everybody asks us about, right? Why is this rate going up, or why is this changed? So if we could get a, you know, 10,000-foot view of what this is going to encompass, I would appreciate it. If this is something that we can hit now and that needs to come back with a presentation or whatever, I just know that people aren't necessarily paying attention to what happens in the agenda study. We come here, we talk about it real quick, and it gets approved or denied. And I would just like there to be a little bit more for the citizens out there to get some information on that.
Just a second. Do you want Mr. Beckham or Mr. Strauss?
Either Gina or Mike could maybe come up. There is an awful lot to provide, you know, kind of a general overview. You know, it has been, you know, reported on, and in addition, I had asked, I know Mike Beckham, our general manager, had met with the LEDC and had conversations there. So we have gone out through the community to try to spread that word along the way. It might be a difficult job, but Gina, if you have the ability to just do kind of a general overview.
And that's, thank you, that's really all that I'm asking for, because it's, you know, I mean, we all know that people come back to us and we say, well, it's here, it's there, all this information is out there, and maybe, you know, again, and I apologize, it is kind of, when I was thinking about that this morning, I thought, I probably should have mentioned it a little better on Friday, but, and if it isn't something that can be hit on any more than that, that's fine, but we are voting to increase rates, and I think that that's important.
Yes, Gina Jacoby, I'm Assistant General Manager of Fiscal Operations for Lakeland Electric. Basically, what's in the ordinance is we are raising rates 2.25% across the board. We've adjusted both the customer charge, demand charge, as well as energy charge in such a way that each average customer will see their bill raised 2.25%. And that's throughout the entire ordinance. We've raised lighting 2.25%. We've raised all the rates 2.25%. We also made the provision based on our financials to raise rates another 2.25% October 1st of 2023 and another 2.25% October 1st, 2024. Again, this depends on where we stand. This will come before the commission at the budget retreat, and depending on where our financials are at the time, we may recommend a lower rate increase depending if we come in, for example, we've got warmer weather and our days cash on hand are in a solid spot.
Great. Commissioner Music, is that?
Now, I'm more than happy to go into more detail.
Is there, and thank you for that, is there, when I look through and we read like the financials and the reason, is there something specific, right, when we think of, you know, the power plant, right, and they come in front of us for a change order because steel has gone up, or, you know, transportation fees have gone up. Is there something that you can point to as an overview as to what is caused an increase for us to be able to need to raise those rates?
Yes, the last time we raised rates was in 2018, and I compared our costs, our current costs in 2023 to those that existed in 2018, and our total cost of service is up about 11%. That's in total since 2018. Inflation has been a cumulative of about 21%. So the 10% is driving the need for a rate increase, but I did want to emphasize that we have really, our costs are going up about half the rate of inflation.
Yeah, and I think that was an important chunk right there, to tell us, and also that their last rate increase was in 18, that's valuable to get out there. Thank you, Jean.
Yeah, and thank you for explaining it so simply. That's a really good thing for us and for the public, just to hone it in. So I appreciate Commissioner Music's question. Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. You beat me to the question, but that was quite okay. Can you address our fuel rates as well while we're here?
Yes, our fuel rates will be coming down. The resolution passed 2 weeks ago. Our fuel rate will be coming down March 1st, $20 per megawatt hour or $20 per 1,000 kilowatt hours. So while we're raising rates 2.25% on our base rate, our fuel rate will be coming down substantially. So all our customers should see a drop in their bills, a substantial drop in their bills because of the fuel rate drop.
Thank you. That's what I knew that. That's what I wanted to hear.
That's important,
I wanted to hear that from
Commissioner Madden.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say, Commissioner Reed. Thank you for saying that, is that, and even just how we're kind of a staggered approach to hoping that the fuel would in fact go down, since that's a pass-through cost, before we did this rate increase for our customers to hopefully feel like it was not much of an increase. The last question I think that wasn't answered by my colleagues, or just a comment, is, the fuel being a pass-through cost, we're not making any money on fuel. And then also the cost of service and inflation. I think people understand that the prices are going up at large, but can you just tell us also how important it is to keep our cash at hand at a particular level, and how this particular increase helps us keep that cash on hand in a range for us to do the things that we need to do at our utility?
Yes, we are currently rated AA by S&P, AA minus by Moody's. One of the things Moody's has stated is that they would like to see our days cash on hand be at a minimum of 180 days. This proposal will allow us to keep our days cash on hand above the 180 days.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions by commission? Great job, Gina. I know we put you on the spot for that, but it was very important. I appreciate my fellow commissioners asking you the questions, but as usual, you've excelled at coming and educating us about it and the public at large. So thank you so much for stepping up.
More than happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you.
Ms. Jacoby is awesome. And
Yes,
so thank you,
she
Gina,
is.
for being able to summarize that so well.
Yes, thank you so succinctly. Any other questions by commission? Any from the audience? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Commissioner McLeod?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Item B1.
Item B1 is a resolution pursuant to the Florida Brownfields Redevelopment Act. It is proposed resolution number 23-004, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Lakeland, Florida, designating property located at 225 and 419 Griffin Road as a brownfield area, authorizing the city attorney to notify the Florida Department of Environmental Protection of said designation, making findings, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Move for approval?
We have a motion
Second.
and a second from Commissioner Reed. Any questions from commission? Any from the audience? Seeing, is that a question? Okay. Seeing none, this too is a roll call vote. Commissioner Simmons?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Now we have our Community Redevelopment Agency, Oak Street Development Exterior Design Review. Thank you, Valerie, for being here from the CRA. This will be a change of pace for the public, going from so many ordinances and resolutions. This is an exciting presentation.
Let me just switch our input and make sure I can do it correctly. Did that go to the right slide? Just give me a moment. Sorry, let me slide through all of these, but I'm happy to be here this morning. For the record, Valerie Farrell, CRA Manager, and we are here to review with you the Oak Street exterior design. And there it is. Okay, sorry, went too far ahead. There we are. Okay, In May of 2022, you all may recall that you entered into an acquisition and redevelopment agreement with Onyx Investments for the CRA-owned property at Oak Street, which is currently a 150-space surface parking lot on 1.49 acres. The acquisition and redevelopment, let me go to that aerial view so you can see it for the public. The acquisition and redevelopment agreement provides specifically for construction of no less than 200 multifamily residential units, approximately 2,000 square feet of retail or office space, and approximately 424 structured parking spaces, as well as approximately 16 on-street parking spaces. Consistent with other redevelopment projects on city or CRA land downtown, the agreement provides that Onyx shall submit building elevations, exterior materials, and color schemes to, the CRA for approval. I'd like to note that those minimums for the parking structure and on-street parking spaces are minimums, but they do provide some flexibility in the agreement because we know that the site plan does have to go through finished final review through the city's development review process. So the minimums that are really important to us are those that are going to be provided for public access, which is a combined 150 between the parking structure and on-street. So what you will see today, before I turn it over, are a number of minimum units at 204 residential units, 2,100 square feet of retail, and a combined 416 structured parking spaces and 23 on-street parking spaces, of which 131 will be provided for public access in the parking structure, and those 23 on-street will be available for public access. Onyx has engaged the architectural firm The Lunds Group to prepare those construction documents and the exterior package, which you're about to review. City and CRA staff have provided input on that ground floor facade, reviewing transparency and pedestrian elements, which were really important to our urban downtown experience. I am happy to report that the Downtown Development Authority, the LDDA, and the CRA Advisory Board have both reviewed and recommended approval of this exterior design package, and we are excited to review that with you today. So I would like to introduce Nikki Pareda with the Lunds Group, who is going to do a much better job of reviewing those renderings with you than I did very quickly on Friday at Agenda Study. And when she concludes, I would like to announce and introduce, we have Eric Lindsay and Arjun Choudhury, which I apologize if I didn't pronounce that correctly, with the Onyx Group, in case you have any questions when Nikki concludes the presentation. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Nikki and let her review this wonderful design.
Thank you so much.
There is.
Good morning. My name is Nikki Pareda again with the Lunds Group, 58 Lake Morton Drive, for the record. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here and just super excited to talk about this project. I'll give you a really brief high-level overview, but before we really dive in, I do want to just orient us as to where we are in Lakeland. Let me see if I can do this correctly. Okay, great. So over here, this is Massachusetts Avenue and Bartow Road. On the east, which is the right side, we have Kentucky Avenue, which of course will take you all the way down past Scout and Tag and through Mudd Park. Down here, which is the south face, is Oak Street, of course, by Nobe. And then to the left, we have Tennessee Avenue, which is bordering Lighthouse Ministries. And then the back is to the left is McKeel Academy, and to up is north, and that is Lighthouse Ministries. As Valerie had mentioned, this is a mixed-use building, and by mixed use, we are talking 2,000 square foot of retail. We've got 204 apartment units, and we have 3 levels of parking garage as well. When we look at the building, I do want to talk about its shape. It's shaped like a donut. It's kind of the best way I can explain it. And inside the donut is that munchkin where we take away that part in the center. Inside the center is the amenity areas for the people who live in that building. So it's going to have spaces for outdoor hammocks and outdoor terraces to lounge and grills of that sorts. And then we do have 2 very strong corners of this building. The main corner is actually going to be towards Kentucky and Oak Street, which we mentioned is in that area to the right. We know that during farmers market days, when people come down that area in Kentucky. Right now, they come down that avenue and they kind of stop and they come back the other way towards Munn Park. And one thing that we're trying to achieve with this project is to create that circuit loop in which those pedestrians will now hit the retail that's on that strong corner, and they'll be able to turn left onto Oak Street. And they're also guided by the arcade that's there. It's this covered pedestrian walkway that we plan to have underneath there, chairs and tables in which you can pick up your beignet or your coffee or whatever's gonna be in that retail area, sit down and enjoy that. So from there, the idea is to walk down Oak Street and then come back around to Munn Park. That is the idea that we want to bring to this urban environment. This next slide, we show the corner of Tennessee and Oak, and this is the corner of the leasing lobby. You can see here that, as Valerie mentioned with our transparency, we wanted to incorporate a lot of storefront glass and just that ability to kind of see inside that building. We used brick. It's not, this building is not in a historic district, but we wanted to make sure that we bring in a brick veneer to kind of give homage to Lakeland, its unique character. We also wanted to modernize the building a little bit and put in some industrial balconies and then soften that with the blues that you see here. We're not 100% sure of the exact color scheme. We're working with an interior designer right now, and she's helping us kind of select those colors, and we're finalizing what exactly it's gonna look like in terms of the color scheme, but this is generally the palette that we're looking at doing. On the east and the west sides of the building, you'll see those are private entrances to our townhomes. When I mentioned earlier that there's 204 units, those 204 consist of townhomes. There's 11 of them total. There's your private entrance off the townhomes from both Tennessee and Kentucky. And if you X-ray vision through the building, you'll see in the first 3 levels, there are parking decks. So it's actually kind of neat because you have your own private entrance for your townhome. You don't have to go through the leasing office, but there's also a back exit. So if you park there on the 2nd floor, you can actually walk right off your townhome exit and then go straight into the parking deck and drive right out. This is another perspective, more of a sidewalk view of Tennessee and Oak. Again, with the comments of transparency, we just want to make sure that was something that we implemented. We also provided a lot of shade for the Florida sun and the Florida rain, and wanted to make sure that that was imported carefully. As we pan around to Oak Street, again, we wanted to split off the building into social versus private. This is a very social public corridor where you have the arcade, and you can see a little bit of a hint of a mural. We wanted to also incorporate some of that art and ability to have someone put in some sort of artistry, whether that's citruses or florals or what have you, but we understand that that's a unique staple of Lakeland, and that would be an opportunity to do so. And then in the back, you see here, this is that retail area. Let me see if I can point to that. Double heights for 2,000 square foot for, it could be a small restaurant, like I said earlier, a cafe or a bakery. Another perspective of, you can see the Kentucky and Oak. So hopefully what we want to see is this street kind of fill up with white tents and a lot of people selling goods, and just see this really vibrant, activated in this corner, in this side of the street. We've also incorporated a lot of balconies so that those people who are interested in kind of engaging with the city living here have that ability to do so. I personally want to live here. I already have my unit picked out on the 4th floor, right there in that corner, because I think that's a pretty prime spot. Here's another sidewalk view, just kind of going closer into the retail portion. And then the last 2 slides, they show the elevations in 2D. What I do want to point out again is we have a transition between the public realm on the Oak, Tennessee, and Kentucky Street, but then towards the back, which you have on Peachtree, which is shown up on the upper portion of the elevations. We have 2 separate garage entries. This one right here that I'm pointing to is the garage entry for the residents. It will have a key fob, it will have its own gated entry, and it'll make your way up to the 2nd and 3rd floors, whereas this entry is actually the private garage the public garage with about 131 parking spaces for anyone to use. I think a portion of that is going to be permittable potentially for McKeel Academy, but they will have their own separate entrance all on the first floor. Oh, I went back too much, but that's essentially it. Thank you so much. We're really excited to present this project to you. We also plan to go to permit in May, so if you guys have any questions, we'll stand for any questions.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Nikki. Commissioner Music?
Yeah, a couple of questions, and thank you. The upgraded glass, the balconies, I think is going to be huge. Can you tell me what is the method of construction?
Sure, thank you for asking that question. So what you can really see on this elevation is that strong blue horizontal band. What that band signifies is the third floor. Levels 1, 2, and 3, because it's a parking garage, is actually made of cast-in-place concrete, so it's a completely different construction type, whereas levels 4 through 7 is wood frame, because it's all multifamily residential.
Commissioner McLeod?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, Nikki and Valerie and team. Can you talk to us a little bit about the potential for design changes, and if that were to happen, what that process looks like?
Sure, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, we're pretty much set in stone. We are working towards construction documents and permit. The only thing that we're still trying to finalize is the exact color of the exterior. But in terms of the actual balconies that we've chosen superior decks. We've already selected that we're using a Hardy system for the wood framing for levels 4 through 7. We're mainly going with stucco on levels 1, 2, and 3, besides the brick veneer and the Rolac brick that we have in detail. So we're essentially there, but if there's some conversation that we want to have to change anything, we understand that we have to go back to the CRA and LDDA to discuss those items.
I think that's what I was looking for, just if there are changes, we're confident that if they're significant, they're coming back through
Right.
CRA, LDDA, and then ultimately to us if it's anything that's material. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Reed?
Thank you. Can you please refresh my memory, how much are they paying for this site?
That's a good question for you.
The development agreement states it's 1.836.
1.3, 1.8? Which one?
1.8, 1.8.
And are we doing any tax income
Yes.
financing? What is that?
That's provided
50%?
within. There's other conditions, but let me just refer to the agreement to be sure I'm correct. And there are other incentives. We're providing some payment for the parking structure, since we are providing that, we'll use that for public access. And there is also TIF as a part of that incentive package.
Okay. So it's in here, so I didn't read that, but,
It's 80%, the TIF is 80% for 5 years, and then 60% for an additional 5 years.
okay. Thank you.
Just conditioned on them completing the project within.
Within a
like,
timeframe.
Yes, what was it, 18 months or?
36
months?
Yes.
Was there any desire to go higher?
Desire to go
In-
higher
in-
the
in
TIF?
height.
Height?
I know we were trying to get density. I didn't know if they had a desire to go higher.
I can't remember the exact height that we're allowed to go up to. I think it's 85, but in order to stay mid-rise, and we wanted to make sure that we stayed within that mid-rise section, the largest occupied floor can only be up to 75 feet. Right now, I think we're at 68. So because of code provisions and to keep the project cost-effective, we limited the height to about that size.
Thank you.
Commissioner Music?
Yeah, I just want to say, I was going to ask some of those questions, but I think that one of the great things that we did is we've talked about having, guarantees, so when developers come, they can see, but also, I like the way that this was worked, so that not only, because a couple people have asked me, we know we've had this, Oak Street has come up before in the past and for development, so the fact that some of their incentives are based on completion to a timely manner, I think was well done by the team there, so.
Commissioner Madden?
Well, and just for a perspective piece, mainly for Valerie, we had a project before this one that didn't follow through. So, this has been a very long-term project, and so when we're questioned about incentives and TIF and those things, I think CRA started to investigate development on this lot a decade ago, so it's not like this just happens quickly and easily and all the time. So really excited to see this finally here.
Anyone else?
I have one more question.
Yes.
Are we going to be renting the spaces? What are we paying per rent for our 31 parking spaces?
What are we paying for rent for? The CRA and city will be paying $70 per month per space, but we'll also be receiving that per permitted space.
Okay, 70?
Yes, per month.
Any further commission? Any, Commissioner Simmons?
Could you explain the parking fee again?
It's written in, it was part of an attachment to the acquisition and redevelopment agreement that we, the city and/or CRA, would be in a consideration for receiving those allocation of public access spaces. We would be paying a lease agreement or a lease payment to Onyx for having access to those spaces.
$70?
Per space.
$70?
Per space.
And we would charge the public?
Yes, there would be, for the permitted users, there would definitely be a cost.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing nothing else. Nikki, I just want to say thank you for saying that art is a staple in Lakeland. I took that out of your presentation. We really appreciate that. I think this is a great project that's going to complement the area really well. And obviously we need density downtown and we need places for people to live. So thank you so much. Seeing no further comment, this is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. City Manager, do you have an audible or are you good?
I would love to, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you. I just want to echo the sentiment this morning, the support of our school resource officers, who we appreciate so much. You've heard Chief Taylor talk about those that they serve are some of the most vulnerable in our community, and so they do good work. But I'd also like to add to that just our support for all of our law enforcement officers. Lakeland Police Department has had a stressful few months, and I just want to encourage them to take care of their mental health, and actually was able to participate in something this weekend that I want to bring some attention to. There is an organization, we provide some mental health services to the law enforcement officers when needed, but there's also nonprofits who do that. There's an organization called Hook a Hero. They're 100% nonprofit. They provide therapy, counseling, and coaching services to first responders and military personnel. On Saturday, they had a sporting clay tournament shoot up in Land O'Lakes. Our Sergeant Chad Mumbauer from Lakeland Police Department's on the board of that organization, and he was there. The first place team from Lakeland included former Chief Ruben Garcia, former Assistant Chief Mike Link. We had other police officers involved. Captain Ty Thompson competed, Lieutenant Brent Addison, Officers Colton Thompson and Rodney Wilkerson, and our Finance Director, Mike Brosart, who's a very good shot, and myself were able to join on a team with Sergeants Nick Paulus and Nick Rex, and we were able to bring home a third place trophy. So Lakeland was well represented up in Land O'Lakes for a great organization that provides these resources and services to law enforcement and our military personnel. And again, I would really encourage our law enforcement officers during this stressful time to reach out for those services from that great organization. Thank you.
That's
I've got a
awesome.
question, Sean.
Yes, Commissioner Simmons.
Thank you. With regard to the access to the mental health facilities by police officers, how is that done? Do they reach out to them, or is there a recommendation, or what's the procedure?
In terms of through our organization, we have an employee assistance program, and that can be done anonymously. There's an ability for them to reach out for those services without it even being recognized. To those nonprofit organizations, there's various websites and Facebook pages and the like that they can connect with them if they have needs.
Thank you.
Commissioner Music.
Thank you. Yeah, and this is not so much about that, but what I wish that I would have done when we had them up here is, my kids aren't in school anymore, so I don't know the resource officers like Commissioner McLeod. So if we have this opportunity next year, I'd love to pass the mic and have them say where they're serving,
that's a
just
great
so we
idea.
can put a name and a face to that school. So
That's awesome. Great idea. Yeah. Thank you, Sean. I'm glad I called on you. That was really exciting.
good shot.
That's awesome.
Well, third place.
And Mr. Brosart, yay. All right, let's see, where are we now? City Attorney, ordinances, first reading, there are none. We'll go to 6B, item number 1.
That is proposed resolution number 23-09, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Lakeland, Florida, relating to affordable housing, making findings, releasing phosphate, mineral, petroleum, and certain other rights with respect to real property located at 715 Emma Street, 719 Emma Street, and 109 West 6th Street, all in the City of Lakeland, Florida, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Music and a second from Commissioner McLeod. Any discussion or question from the commission? Yes, Commissioner Reed?
Thank you. So, why weren't they conveyed at closing? Or is that something we had to acquire later?
The mineral rights?
Yeah. Or is that what we always retain?
We've typically retained that. Every now and then, someone will request that we release those. Some title companies request that, some don't. The title company for this transaction has requested that we release those mineral rights.
For financing purposes, I'm assured, I guess.
Yes, right.
Any other questions? Any questions from the audience or comments? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote. Commissioner McLeod?
Aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Miscellaneous reports, C1.
Good morning, Ramona Siriani for the City Attorney's Office. We have a real estate and transportation item, a lease modification. It's the third modification of a lease agreement with Draken International, Inc. Draken has been a business that's been operating as an aircraft maintenance and overhaul facility at the airport since 2013. They currently lease approximately 167,976 square feet of hangar space and 4,719 square feet of office space at 3330 Flightline Drive. The purpose of this third modification is that the existing initial term of the lease is set to expire on February 28th, 2023. So Draken is seeking to modify the agreement to extend that initial term for an additional 3-year period. That would be effective March 1st, 2023. And base rent for the initial 3-year term will be $46,771.50 per month. That monthly rent does not include utilities or taxes. That would be in addition to the monthly rent. It also this lease modification also incorporates a little bit of a hybrid approach with renewal options. At the expiration of that initial 3-year term, then Draken will be able to renew the lease for 2 additional 1-year periods following the expiration of that term. And thereafter, once that renewal term expires, they'll have the opportunity to then renew for exercise an option for 2 additional 5-year renewal options. And both of those renewal options would be subject to mutual written agreement of the parties. And the reason for kind of doing this little hybrid approach with the renewals is to try to work with Draken to give them some flexibility based on their business needs. No other terms or conditions of the lease agreement are being otherwise modified, and the options are subject to a 2.5% per year increase as well.
Thank you, Ms. Siriani. Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second. We have a motion from Commissioner Music and a second from Commissioner Madden. Any discussion? We had a good discussion about this on Friday. We missed you.
Sorry.
Mr. Davis handled it very well. Any questions from commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Music?
Just a comment, really. Thank you. Just, working hard out there at the airport just to keep everything full, keep them in. And they've been great tenants. I mean, I've been out there a handful of times, and my office is right on drain field. So to see their jets when they're out practicing is just really neat. And again, it just goes back to one of the great things we have in the city of Lakeland. I mean, not only do we have a great airport, but with NOAA and Draken and just the things we've had there. So just well done.
Other comments or questions? Any questions from the audience or comments? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We don't have a report from the finance director, so now we'll move into item number 8, utility. No ordinances or resolutions, but we will go to item C, miscellaneous C1.
The first item we have here is an agreement with the Davy Tree Expert Company. This is for line clearance services. This is to maintain the vegetative growth that is adjacent to Lakeland Electric's transmission and distribution lines. If the commission recalls, back in September of 2022, we approved an annual line clearance agreement with Trees LLC for an initial 3-year term because the previous provider, Burford's Tree, that had expired. And at the time that the existing contract with Burford expired, there were 90 miles left of distribution lines that still needed to require line clearance services for FY22. Those were not complete, and due to some performance issues with Burford's, the decision was made by staff not to go ahead and extend that agreement, but rather Lakeland Electric staff evaluated what they needed and found that Davy had crews that were available to complete the 90 miles of line clearance work that remained. The city's purchasing department approved the procurement pursuant to a piggyback contract that we had, that OUC, Orlando Utilities Commission, had. And so all of that, the provisions contained in there as well as the pricing would be subject to what Davy will be providing us. And the intent of doing this was also to kind of allow our existing Trees LLC to continue with their work to meet their requirements under their contracts. So this is an interim service that Davy is providing us. The term of this agreement is for a period of 3 months, set to begin February 20th, 2023 upon City Commission approval. It does contain 2 additional 3-month renewal options upon mutual written consent of the parties if that's necessary to complete that work. The total estimated cost of the work for that term is $1 million, which is included in Lakeland Electric's FY23 budget. And we'd ask for your favorable approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Madden, and a second from Commissioner McLeod. Any discussion by commission? Any discussion by the audience? Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. C2.
The next item that we have is an amendment to an agreement with Doble Engineering Company. This is for the provision of diagnostic testing, equipment, accessories, operating software, and supplemental support services for Lakeland Electric substation and maintenance operations. The amendment seeks to extend the agreement with Doble for an additional 3-year period, as well as adjust those annual rates and update equipment and services that are being provided. The equipment that Doble provides has, in services that they are providing, the city's purchasing department has determined that Doble is a sole source provider of those services. The term upon your approval would be for a 3-year period effective May 1st, 2023. The total cost for the 3-year term is $180,300. The first year of costs is $60,100, and that is included in Lakeland Electric's FY23 budget. Services for the second and third year would be contingent upon the City Commission's budget approval of that, and we would ask for your favorable approval.
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner McLeod and a second from Commissioner Madden. Any questions or discussion from the commission? Any from the audience? Seeing none, this too is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Item number 4.
Last utility item that we have is an agreement with Siemens Energy. This is for the purchase of an integrated vibration monitoring and combustion dynamics protection system for MGT2, or Macintosh Gas Turbine 2. The MGT2 unit does not currently have an integrated combustion dynamic monitoring system. Originally, when we did that project with MGT2, that cost of having an integrated system wasn't included in the total project cost. So since that time, the combustion dynamics monitoring has been part of a temporary system that we've installed twice a year for seasonal tuning on MGT2's turbine. That requires scaffolding to be built up to the unit, as well as staff being put to work at high heights to mitigate the risk to staff, as well as to reduce some of those costs with having to have the scaffolding erected on that yearly basis. Staff has looked at integrating that system instead with Siemens, which is the sole source provider of that system, as they're the original equipment manufacturer. So upon approval by the City Commission, the system would be installed during MGT2's December 2023 scheduled outage. All the terms and conditions will be in accordance with the selling policy that we already have in place, as well as our contract already in place with Siemens. The total cost of the equipment installation and setup is $230,100, and that is included in Lakeland Electric's FY23 budget as well. And we would ask for your favorable approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Music and a second from Commissioner Reed. Any questions or discussion from the commission? Any from the audience? Seeing none, this is our last voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Sirianni. We appreciate it. And just for the public at large, we go through utility in depth at utility committee meetings that happen after our first meeting of the month agenda study, typically at 11 o'clock, and those are also streamed, so you could watch those. And then again, we talk about it throughout our agenda studies as well as here at the commission level, just as an FYI. Now we move to the audience portion of our meeting. If we have any members of the audience who would like to come forward and address the City Commission, please state your name and your address, and you'd have 3 minutes to talk. Yes, sir, come on down. And you can come right to the center podium. Thank you so much. Just state your name and your address.
My name is Jason Davis, 2928 North Martha Avenue, Lakeland, Florida.
Thank you.
And how y'all ladies and gentlemen doing this morning? I come to address the mental health issues that's going around, not only as with my family, as other families. I had an issue. I got a son that's 32 years old, and it's hard for me to talk about this because I love him, and I don't want to see him get hurt or hurt anybody in the commission. And he's in a bad manic state, and he just don't have any control. Just last year, Christmas, we had him Baker Act, and they kept him for 8 to 10 days. And they told me they were gonna put him in a facility to keep him medicated. And in 7 days, he was home. Just the other night, I called LPD out again because he was in a manic state to Baker Act. And when they came out, he wasn't there, but he came up. And when they addressed him, they was telling me that he had to meet the criteria in order for them to re-Baker Act him. But on Christmas, it was not a criteria that he had to meet. They instantly took him in because they knew his history of his mental health. Now he's in the county jail, arrested by the same agency that I called help for that same night. He was at the hospital when he got arrested. At the hospital, seeking help. I'm in my right mind by the grace of God, but he's not. Mental illness is very serious. And I heard this young man speaking about the mental illness with the police department. What about for the public that call out and need help, as people like me and my wife? We both disabled. We can't control it. And every time we ask for help, it's just a runaround. And they tell me, I sent them to Peace River. They told me I had to have $2,000 to give him a shot once a month. I'm on a set income. Can't afford it. Done reached out to everybody that I can. I've been to my church, my pastors, everybody I can. This is my final hope. It's with the City Commission. What can we do to recognize this as with police officers in the community? If you ride through my neighborhood and you know I got a mental ill patient, stop by and see, is he in the good part, is he in the gap? That'll open up a line of communication where he don't want to talk to you when he's going through a state of mind. Right now, his state of mind, every time he sees the police, he knows it's a problem. That's his state of mind, it's a problem. But if we open up a line of communication, we can then, like I told my wife, if they'd have just took him, he wouldn't be in the county jail now, looking at criminal charges. He would be in a hospital receiving the help that he probably needs. And my understanding is that I'm not crying, I'm begging for anybody on this panel that can give me any kind of guidance. And this won't be my last time by coming down here to speak about mental illness. It's a very, very sectional thing that's going on in this world, and I think that the police should have officers that can know between that and a different charge, on duty, on call, and every time a mental issue call, they should have somebody that can respond, that have many issues, that can know that they can do, okay, I can recognize this guy, he need help, we can take him to the hospital without having to have these certain questions we have to ask.
Thank you, sir. We're so sorry that you're going through that. I don't know from a staffing perspective, like how we can assist or, put in touch with LPD or.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
I'm going to file a complaint against the 3 officers that came to my house.
I'm sorry?
I want to go and file a complaint against the 3 officers because they thought it was very funny when I was telling about my child going through a state of mind.
Okay. Let me follow up with our police chief, Sammy Taylor, and get some particulars, and we can definitely, connect with you. We do have some resources. We do have neighborhood liaison officers who could do some of the things that you're asking about in terms of being proactive, potentially. So let me find out some particulars about that, and I'll get your information, and we'll make sure that we connect with you and get you some answers.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
You'll see Mr. Cook. He'll get your information for you. Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public? Okay, that moves us into the mayor and members of the city commission comments. Yes, sir, Commissioner Reed.
I have one question, still Sean, then I've done an announcement. When is our next scheduled demolition for the power plant?
Our next scheduled demolition for the next power plant. Oh, the people who would know that left the room. I can get that date for you.
All right.
I know we are preparing, though, for
The next
some
round,
events
final
similar
round.
to the last, and there's
Okay.
even been some discussions about potentially doing that at even at Lake Parker Park and kind of seeing that from across
Okay. Okay, thank you.
the lake potentially. So
And-
it's being worked on. Kevin, do you happen to know the date for the next demolition? At Lakeland? Yeah, we can get that.
March 4th, Sarah's saying.
March 4th?
Macintosh.
March 4th?
For the next demolition at,
In the morning again, I guess same time, something like that?
yeah, we'll get that information for you.
Thank you. And then last, again, starting Wednesday is our state's women's basketball tournament, going to be at the RFP Funding
For high school.
Center for high school. There'll be a lot of teams coming. You'll see a lot of young women running around town, maybe doing some activities and dining out. So hope everyone can attend that. I usually go. It's a lot of fun, and
It's awesome.
see some young upcoming stars, and you'll see on TV.
That's right.
That's it.
Do you all?
I'm good.
Any comments? Okay, Commissioner Madden.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I just wanted to get excited about the Tigers Barbecue on Wednesday night. That's always an exciting event every year. And then to actually have an official spring training again this year is so exciting. This Saturday, February 25th, the Tigers versus the Phillies. And I heard a rumor that Commissioner McLeod might be throwing out the first pitch.
That's what I hear. Haven't thrown a baseball since I was 10.
I
so we'll see how
know,
that
you better
goes.
practice. I mean, both, I
So not pulling your thing.
many of us have done that, and I did actually practice before I had my debut, and so I'm glad it's you this year and not me. And,
My shoulders acted up for the last year since I did it last year.
but we're excited that we'll be cheering you on, and then next week, I take my annual pilgrimage to Washington DC on behalf of American Public Power for the APPA PMC. So I'll have some Lakeland Electric folks, and we'll all be heading up there to make sure that our legislators keep public power front of mind.
Commissioner McLeod, do you have any?
I don't. Looking forward to Saturday, but yeah, good. Thank you.
I come bearing gifts this week. Here, there's for you too. So the Polk County History Center has a brand new exhibit, and it's the cities, these have each of the names if you want to pass them down. So it's Explore Polk Proud, Cities of Polk at the Polk County History Center. And these are, the Cities of Polk defines our cultural heritage and inspires our search for identity and belonging. We invite you to discover your hometown's history and reflect on how the not-so-distant past has created the villages, towns, and cities of today. And that's going to be, that exhibit is open now. It's Tuesday through Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at our Polk County History Center in Bartow, which is the old courthouse. And you'll see in your package, they have line drawings from the different kind of iconic images from each of our 17 municipalities. The city of Lakeland's is the promenade on Lake Mirror. And so instead of having an event, which I think is really smart of them to do, and Commissioner Music opened his present and it has socks. And this came from the History Center. So they brought it by the other day and asked me to hand it out. So I love being the bearer of gifts. Yay! For my fellow commissioners. But for everyone, whether you're originally from Polk County or not, this is a great exhibit to see all about the 17 municipalities and also see, how Lakeland has impacted the other places. I think Andrew probably loves all this tissue paper that's being crumpled up over our mics. But anyway, Murtish Young, who is the director over there, she works really hard, as does her entire team, at preserving our history and doing really great exhibits. So I hope you guys will take a minute to go down there and visit and see a little bit about Lakeland's history. I know they worked with our History and Culture Center here in Lakeland to decide what's going in there, and it's an exciting thing to do. And that's all.
Okay, so since you're talking about Lakeland and our history, the people that live here, the film that debuted here a couple of years ago, it's now available on Netflix. So you can watch the people who live here and be proud of our city as well. So I got that.
And it actually went to a couple of film festivals.
It did.
Yeah, and did really well.
What's it called?
It's called, is it The People Who Live There? Yeah. The People Who Live There?
But it highlights Lakeland or what?
Yeah, instead of the historic home tour, we were shut down for COVID. So Paige Wagner, the local realtor who kind of does that Polk historic tour, actually did it by film. And so they went into homes, kind of on a home tour, historic homes in Lakeland. And it actually was so beautifully done that they went to film festivals, and now you can see it on Netflix. So it's a fun way to celebrate your cities. I'll send you the link.
Good, I get Netflix. So I can
Seeing no
watch that.
further business, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you, Kevin.